This is the Philanthropy Show, connecting and inspiring philanthropy.
Welcome to the Philanthropy Show. I'm your host, Luann Saraga Walters. Have you wondered how to tell all of those wonderful things to the general public that are going on in your nonprofit? Have you thought about, gosh, wouldn't it be great if there was an outlet that we could actually communicate through and that the public would want to listen to it? Wouldn't that be great? What I love about this show today is that we have a couple who are our guests, Veronica Miller and Rick Hughes, with Goodwill, Manasota, and they thought the exact same thing, and they said, you know what, we have a lot of good news stories going on in our community, and we want to tell them. And what I really love about this is that you work for Goodwill. That, you know, it's one thing to have a radio station come on and say, let's do a nonprofit show, or a show that spotlights the nonprofits and all the good going on. But it's another to have, okay, we know how many hats we wear in the nonprofit world, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like you're not busy. Anyway, so welcome to the show, Veronica,
well, thank you.
Rick. Nice to have you guys. So I just want to jump in. How did you, number one, figure out that you had the time, and number two, get this radio show launched? And then also tell everybody where it is, you know, how
Absolutely.
they can tune in.
Well, just like any other development person, we were putting together a plan for the upcoming year about sponsorships. What kind of benefits can we give sponsors? And you always try to be unique. You know, like, do we give them a 10 top? Do we, you know, do a BOGO of their logo? What can we do? And Mr. Genius over here sat down and said, you know, if we could, I'm sorry, he's not here. Yeah. So if we could reach a bigger audience for the sponsors, that would be great. And we just came back from doing a radio show, and he said, you know, we should have our own radio show. Boom. We turned around and said, that would be ideal. But we didn't take it to the next level until he came back and he goes, you know, besides bringing on your donors, he's director of community outreach.
So our ambassadors are also very active in the community. They not only volunteer with us, they volunteer throughout the entire community. They own businesses, and they've integrated their desire to give back into their business plan. So we give them a voice as well.
So are these ambassadors, they're actually corporate?
They're
Everybody.
Everybody.
Okay.
We have volunteers, we have Rotary clubs, we have businesses, we have philanthropists, but also he works with numerous other organizations who might not have that marketing budget. So it's giving them a voice. So we sat down and said, you know, right now, because 25 years in development, I realize philanthropy has changed.
Oh, yes.
So asking for money,
Oh, yes.
it's not coming from the philanthropy pot, it's coming from the marketing pot. So you have to create a win-win with these guys. What could we do instead of them putting an ad in to reach just as many people but really get a message across? And let's face it, if you come on the show and you're talking about good corporate social responsibility, what is the latest statistics in cause marketing? 91% of Americans will support a company that supports a cause. So right there, we just gave you a whole audience. And we bring on one of his partners, a nonprofit that doesn't have that marketing budget and wants to talk about an event or a fundraiser or just what
Which is
they
great
do.
for them because they don't have the means to do it, and you're providing the means.
Right. And during every show, we have a business partner, ambassador, and a nonprofit, so they get to meet there too, because we're all about sharing the wealth as far as volunteerism and spreading the word is concerned.
I love what you just said, though, too, because philanthropy has changed, and we've said that a couple of times on this show. The face of philanthropy, the nature of philanthropy is vastly changing, especially with the new generations coming in, the new means of giving, being online. And the technology itself makes it more accessible to share these stories. So you and I were talking before the show began that you are at radio station
WSRQ,
which is
106.9 FM.
Doesn't he sounds good?
Yeah.
also-
Good. Well, he has the radio voice.
Yes, exactly.
You can stream it online too. So you can
106
listen
FM.
106. Tell me something good.
But you can also stream it online
Yes.
at, you just said that,
Well, at WSRQ.
WSRQ.com, where you find and I love the name of the program,
Tell me something good.
but you have to sing it.
Oh,
You can't just say it.
well, you do
You
it so
pay,
well.
you pay the royalty fees, we'll sing it.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Because I
Well-
hear you play it, so you've got it on there. But no, you don't you just tell me
me
something good. You just have
You
to.
got to do the guitar riff.
It makes you feel good. So what are the shows that you look at when you want to bring somebody on What have you had so far? Like Sharon and I had the benefit of being able to listen to the Girl Scouts, which was awesome to hear everything that's going on. Some of the history didn't know about, their purpose and mission with young girls and helping them develop their character. So tell me how you look about bringing somebody on the show.
Well, gratefully, people are at our fingertips. And it just so happened that the Girl Scouts, we were partnering with them. And when Sue was talking about they have limited marketing
Sue is
budget.
the woman from the Girl
CEO,
Scouts, the CEO.
Yes. And when you do have that money, you have so much to put in an ad. What is your purpose? What are you trying to get across? You're selling cookies or you're selling an event. But you don't get that space or that time to really talk about the purpose. And as soon as you heard it and you said, oh, wow, we are actually helping young girls learn about being entrepreneurs and so, all that other stuff.
Empowerment,
Right.
that's what I heard, yeah.
So it was great. And I mean, we have success stories because strategically, we do kind of place people together. And do you want to talk about?
We want them to hear each other's story,
Absolutely,
too.
you're connecting it.
So one of our favorites is that we had a young man named Tommy who was an unaccompanied homeless youth who graduated from high school, got a part-time job through a program that we have with Schoolhouse Link that helps homeless kids. Okay. He worked with Goodwill during the summer, did so well that he got a job from us full-time in the fall, was in a store for a little while, and then we found out he was technically proficient, so he actually was one of the pioneers of our new computer reprogramming and refurbishing department. Brought him on to tell his story. Our other guest was one of our ambassadors, Steve Paley, who owns Rapid Security Solutions. He was so taken by Tommy and Tommy's story that after the show, he offered him a job, full-time job.
That's awesome.
They gave him a company van and a big raise and a future.
You got good news coming from your good news.
Exactly. So
That's really, really cool.
Just told you something good.
You did. You did. I'm going to break out in song again. No, not right now. Well, so your backgrounds, Veronica, you're in development.
Yes.
And you said it a minute ago in,
I'm
what's
the
your
Director
title?
of Community Outreach.
Community Outreach. How did you two come to Goodwill?
Veronica worked 127 years at different nonprofits.
Thank you so much. So anyway, I'm looking for a director of community outreach right now. So I was actually executive director of an international aid organization, and I was kind of getting burned out of the traveling, and I just happened to meet the incoming president and CEO of Goodwill. And he wanted to restart a foundation. And he talked to me, and my background is marketing and development. I came from DC. And his vision, I was blown away, and I said, oh, there's so much we could do. And we partnered together, and I started the Goodwill Foundation for them. And as we grew, marketing fell under me, and I was blessed. I hate to say this, but I was blessed because his background is amazing, and it just helped enhance what we can do.
Now we have a record of that.
Yeah, you do. You do. And it'll be online
Yeah, exactly.
in perpetuity, so you can always refer to that.
Exactly.
Well, and so how did you come to?
Oh, it was a long road. I was 25 years in the real estate industry, grew up in it.
Wow.
My parents were in the business. I took over their business in Maryland, moved to Florida, managed a large office in Sarasota, and then was fortunate enough, I took off a couple of years. I saw the little bubble coming. Took off a couple of years and started shooting video for nonprofits for free to hone my skills. And I told my wife, I said, eventually I have to go back to work. But when I do, I'm going to go in a direction that feels good versus going right back into what I've done for so many years. So I met with Bob Rosinski, the president of Goodwill, and he said that I don't have a position for you at the moment, but if you'll come on board, we'll figure it out as we go. Well, one Friday he says, now you're the head of our video communications department, to which I said, do we have that? He said, no, but you have all the equipment. So that was my door in. And from there, it became evident that the stories that we have to tell are so vast.
That's, yeah, that, and I love that too. And I love that this synchronicity or this compatibility or whatever, you guys have a great mesh. Your personalities work, your thinking process works, and you can tell that you do have fun together. I won't go into it a whole lot because I know. but it's obvious. But we already have to take a short break. But when we come back, I want to talk about that, about telling the stories. And really, one of the points of this show is to try to give those best practices or new practices to nonprofits. How can we help them do that? You know, using what you've already found as a tool with this when you're telling something good. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
This show sponsored in part by
My Paper Pusher. Consider it done.
I'm Samantha Abraham, CEO of My Paper Pusher, association management and bookkeeping experts. What makes us different from other accounting solutions? Let me give you 4 reasons. First, we only hire the best and most competent, experienced employees, so tasks get completed on time every time. Because of their years of experience and expertise, we can get the work done quicker with less errors, which drives our efficiencies. Second, we have established processes, procedures, calendars, and checklists in writing that are customized for each client. Work flows smoothly and is peer-reviewed, which eliminates errors and any reworking of projects. Third, we are a privately held firm, which means that we reinvest in our staff, our clients, and most importantly, in our community. Last but not least, we are proud of our client testimonials and have a 98% client retention rate, which is the highest in the industry. With My Paper Pusher, consider it done.
Follow the Philanthropy Show on Facebook for behind-the-scenes action, polls, and commentary.
Welcome back to the Philanthropy Show, talking today with Veronica Miller and Rick Hughes of Goodwill, Manasota. I love that, Manatee, Sarasota, Manasota, who have launched a new radio show down there called Tell Me Something Good, which is fantastic that you guys are doing this. And before the break, we were talking about how you discovered in coming into Goodwill the great numbers of stories, of good news stories that are out there. And you know, speaking from my background, which was working for 3 NBC affiliates, I did a lot of bad news reporting, or what they just call the news. And I couldn't do it. You know, after 7 years, I was like, I have to step away. So I left the news industry. But I've always had a passion around video. So, you know, in every job that I've had, you pull that in and say, how can we best tell our story? How can we share the good news? And you know, Sharon and I are all about empowerment and uplifting and educating, and those are our intentions with the show. And there are so many ways that nonprofits can do it. So I want to pick your brains. From your experience now, and either one of you can start, but let's talk about from your experience with this radio show, but then also put it into parameters of being nonprofit employees. How do you look for those good news stories that are just, they're there every day, we can see them, but I think one of the things is that nonprofits don't know how to identify them and then share them. So Epiphany Thoughts, first off, what first comes to mind about how do you tell a story?
Everything as an opportunity, and my biggest pet peeve, and everyone knows this,
It's a missed opportunity.
missed opportunities. And you have to see the good. And Anne Murray has a song.
I love her.
I know, and it's a little good news today. And it is. You always have to look for the good news. It's there. Just block out the bad news. And that was another reason we started this, because we're always together and we talk, and it's like, oh, I don't want to, if I see something on Facebook, I quick push it aside, or the news, if it's something bad, I just turn it off. And it is, you just have to block it out, because there is so much good, and just bring it to the front. Every day, we're blessed in our job, because we actually do change lives through the power of work. We find work for people. But there's more than just giving them a job. It's the story behind, or that, you know, Anne Sullivan helping, you know, somebody. That's what makes
the
my
story
day.
within the story.
Right.
Right. So how does nonprofit ABC, which if there is a nonprofit called ABC, I'm going to hear about it, because that's always the one I use. How does nonprofit ABC find that story within the story? How do they actually peel back the onion so that they can say, okay, well, we already told that story, but in looking deeper, what's the technique?
Well, for us, changing lives through the power of work is not only our mission statement, it's actually a description of what we do. So with our 800 employees, everyone has a story. Most have some type of barrier to employment. If you just let them do their job and you never look beyond the fact that they're doing their job and fulfilling their job requirements, you don't know that they had a degree in South America as a biologist and now they sort books at Goodwill. You don't know that maybe they made a couple bad choices when they were a kid. that kept them from getting employment somewhere else. Now they're flourishing. They're getting their GED. They're getting plan to go on to college and things like that. So everyone has a story. You just have to ask.
You know, you just said something that makes me think about a class that I teach here and also in Jacksonville at the Nonprofit Center of Northeast Florida. It's not about here's the thing. As nonprofits, we tend to lead with, this is our mission and this is our vision. And we're not getting a personality from
Exactly.
it. But if I were to, do either one of you have kids?
No.
Feline kid.
Feline.
You have a feline kid?
And I
Okay.
have puppies.
Canine.
And we had canine too. But if you ask somebody to talk about their children, you know, and the descriptions of, then tell me about your son, or tell me about your sister, or tell me about your best friend. You don't lead with, you know, well, my son's goal is to be the valedictorian of the school. You say, oh, he's a passionate 14-year-old, he loves soccer, he does this. You get a feel for them. And I think that's that essence of the story is what we tend to leave out in the nonprofit world, because we want to put the data forward so that we can get the donations and we can get the funding, but we miss the story. So just what you just said, Rick, was so vital, because you're talking about connecting with people. You're saying, in order to know their story and find out that they did have a degree in bio something in Africa, whatever it was that you used, which was a great wow example, made my head kind of fly over there. But you're saying, and the only way that you can do that is to have a conversation.
Exactly.
When you first launched this Tell Me Something Good radio show, were you, not having had a radio background, were you nervous? Did you think of how are we going to do this? Because it didn't sound like it. It sounded like you just jumped right in and said, yes, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Well, we talk for a living.
Yeah, exactly. We love to
So-
talk. So it was, give me a mic. You know, if I'm not going to sing, I'm going to just keep talking. But it was great because it was just like us having a conversation. And to launch it, I went to 3 of my closest donors and I said, what about this idea? And they go, oh my God, I'll support it. What can we
That's
do? What can we
fantastic.
do?
Oh,
exactly.
all of you out there who are watching this across Florida, across the country, look at what very simply did. And it took 3 donors and bam.
Bam.
And we're scheduled through April already because now people are asking to be on the show. Makes it a lot easier than going out and finding them.
Yeah.
Now, is this radio station, is a public
Yeah, it's a
access?
commercial.
Okay, so you went to them and then said, hey, we've got an idea, we've got the backing. Did you do that first or second or third? What do you do?
We did it for second and third. We walked in and we said, we have this idea, how can we do it? And they were very open to the idea.
Awesome.
And then it went very quickly. It was
Really quickly.
next Thursday at 10 o'clock.
And then all of a sudden you're there.
Yeah.
Well, and like you said, in saying it as a joke, but also as the reality is, yes, you talk for a living, but you're a relationship builder.
Exactly.
Because you're in fund development and your donors are probably not just your acquaintances, but you know them and you know how to approach them and talk to them and tell their stories. And so I think a key aspect of telling a story is talking to somebody, finding that relationship, and then the next thing in getting it out. See, this is something that everybody could do across the country in establishing a radio show. You don't have to go to the extravagance of having the video production equipment like Rick does, which, you know, let's get together, man. Let's do a show. We'll do it. But that would be fun. Anyway.
Well, the donor and the public have thousands of choices. So you have to give them the purpose. Every stakeholder has to understand, not only understand what your mission is, but they need to know the personal story so that they can take it inside. Once they take it inside,
Absolutely.
you've got ambassadors and you have lifelong supporters.
Once they've taken it inside, once they've identified with it, connected to it, you found something that is that resonates with who they are, what they believe in. What were the challenges, or are the ongoing challenges that you have? Populating the show, number one, but you have plenty to choose from. What are some challenges that you have?
I think my biggest challenge, and you know it,
Yeah.
it was after our first show. Now, again, I just talk and talk and talk. Right after the show, I said, I think we did pretty good. I don't think I said once.
You didn't say on once.
Oh, it was, I said it a million times. It was horrible. But I'm learning. And, you know, because you sit there and you're so, because we're so entwined and talking, and I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, dead space. So I'm catching on. There's a mic in front of me, and you got to keep it going because
That's
they
fun.
visually can't see
Filling
you.
the time, because you have a time block to fill,
Yeah.
sure,
Right.
sure. But I'm still hooked on this idea of nonprofits across the country being able to have their own radio show and getting out there to it and lining up their ducks, because not everybody is necessarily going to be as big as Goodwill, Manasota. And so what can a small nonprofit to do? And maybe it's not a radio show on the radio, but maybe it's another way of getting these stories together. So what do you look for in an interview? How do you connect with that person and share their story?
We dig deep. I mean, we're
Yeah.
genuinely interested in what they have to say. We are not afraid to share the time with other nonprofits. It's our show, yes. Goodwill's brought up frequently, yes. But we're not afraid to share the time with other nonprofits and spread the good that they're doing. Too often, I think some nonprofits get very insular, and they're in their silo, and they say, I don't want to bring somebody else in. My donor might go to them. Well, we're not worried about that. We know who we are. We know what our organization does. And if we can share with the Girl Scouts or share with yesterday Project 180, they help prisoners coming out of the out
System.
of prison to transition back into the workforce. It's also an opportunity for collaboration. So every time we have a nonprofit on, we can collaborate with them as well as with our business partners.
Which I'm so glad you said that, because as you were talking, I was just sitting here thinking, you know, others could do it too, that may be a quarter or a third the size of your organization, and they, with 2 or 3 others, could get together and they could launch, you know, a show, or they could have their own medium and something to speak. I'm thinking about the need that we see in the nonprofit sector for being able to share that. You know, we write 1,000 press releases, and 999 of them fall to the floor or on deaf ears or whatnot, because it just doesn't hit modern media's 30-minute or 25-minute news time block that they have, right, for sharing the story. This is a way that you've created it yourself, instead of saying, well, I'm going to continue to try to share our good news and hope that we get on mainstream media. We're going to become mainstream media. We're showing it ourselves. And with technology today, we can do that. I just applaud you guys for doing that, because that's thinking out of the box, really. And then saying that I want to do something with sponsorships in a new, exciting way, using technology that we have and sharing the stories that we have. You know, I think it's fantastic. What are your plans for the future? How long do you see, tell me something good, going on?
Yeah.
Oh, good,
I
good.
mean, he loves doing that every
It's my
day.
favorite part.
We always want to be unique and different. And what can we do? Because relationships, like you said, it's really important to me. And it's, you know, how can we help each other? And, you know, the very first person we had on was Seaside Bank. And you're like, you had a bank on? But do you know what? Steve Altier from the bank, they do so much. But all you see is, you know,
The banking
financial
persona,
institution.
exactly.
Right. But he was able to come on, talk about all the other organizations they support, he supports, and his advice for youth in getting into philanthropy. It was beautiful, and that's what we like to do. And you know, we're always thinking outside the box. Like, what else can we do? Because they're family now. All our ambassadors, we call them Goodwill ambassadors. They're our volunteers. They're the people who support us, but they're family. They're Goodwill ambassadors, and what else can we do? So,
We're a little army that moves around together.
right.
Veronica sang the Star Spangled Banner last night at the Orioles, and everybody showed up to watch
Oh,
the
that's
game
very
as well as
cool.
Veronica.
So it's good. But yeah, we're a family, and our family's getting larger and larger because we give goodwill in the community. You like that?
I do
Okay.
like that. That was, yeah, nicely placed.
TM.
Yes, yes. Trademark, not TMI.
Yeah.
Trademark. I was waiting for you to go one step further. No. Wow, I love it. I love your innovation. I love your passion and your fun and the way you've committed to it. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, it's time for Truth or Care, which is our segment that is our TM on the Philanthropy Show. Another break. We'll be right back.
And now a word from our studio sponsor.
Hi, I'm Jen Dodd, the Education Manager here at the Nonprofit Leadership Center, and I wanted to offer you a quick tip for getting started on social media. I was meeting with a nonprofit professional here in Tampa Bay recently, and she told me that she had no idea how to use her Twitter account. We talked a bit, and I found out that she travels all throughout Tampa Bay visiting other nonprofit organizations, so I suggested that she tweet before or after a meeting. For example, great meeting with @NLC, learning how they empower, educate, and connect #Tampa Bay, #nonprofits. I told her to be sure to use that organization's Twitter handle, the @ and to use relevant hashtags like #Tampa Bay and #nonprofit to increase her Twitter reach. That's easy enough, right? We offer these kinds of social media and online communications classes developed especially for nonprofits throughout the year. And we also offer our own tips and quick solutions on our own social media channels. So follow us on Facebook or Twitter and check out our upcoming classes on our training schedule. And we'll be happy to see you here soon at the NLC, where we educate, empower, and connect nonprofits.
The Philanthropy Show is on demand every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at both thephilanthropyshow.com and YouTube/WatchMVVP-TV.
Welcome back. We are on the Philanthropy Show, final segment with Goodwill, Manasota. Veronica Miller and Rick Hughes, the creators of Tell Me Something Good and radio hosts, fantastic personalities here. So, we talked about relationships and how the importance and the essence of a story is about finding out about that person and really where they've been, who they are. And so our segment that we keep for segment 3, called Truth or Care, is about that. And it's about getting to know you. Truth or Care is, what is your heart's definition of philanthropy? Why are you involved in philanthropy? Why are you committed to it? And it could be a story, it can be a reason, it could be a transformative experience, but something. And I'll let either of you start, whoever wants to do the sharing.
I waited immediately because usually that means you, means Veronica. I'm the number 2.
Funny.
For me, I think a transitional moment was, my wife is a LCSW, social worker.
Okay.
She had a client, a young girl who was severely buck teeth. It was just bothering her in every aspect of her life. She was in tears every day in the guidance counselor's office. Her self-esteem was shot. No money in the family to address this. I mentioned it at my Rotary Club, and they said, well, let's see if we can find a Rotarian dentist. I did, who was going to do the orthodonture for a fraction of the cost at $2,600 for full braces and everything. And in 10 minutes, I had the money.
Wow.
Because we connected a real story with a real person, with people that would would be touched by it. I think everybody cares. It's just that when they make that personal connection, that it makes the difference. And since then, we've done it to help 2 of the Goodwill employees as well. So for me, it's making a personal difference in somebody's life.
And how does that make you feel?
I mean, that's the whole reason I do it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's connecting to the community,
Yeah.
truly becoming a member of it and a player in it.
Because the little girl I was talking about, that was about 8 years ago, so she has since graduated from high school, has gone to college. It will affect everything from her career path as well as her children, because her self-esteem and the way that she looked at herself, everything changed.
And all the
from that
people she
moment.
impacts. So you didn't just impact one life, because then all the lives that she impacts based on her self-confidence, her self-esteem, how she's able to present in the world, impact the rest of the world too, that connection.
Yep. And
That's
I may
awesome.
never see her. I actually never met the girl. My wife knew her those years ago. I will never meet her, but I know that we made the impact in her life.
That's
it's not.
cool.
We don't need the there's no thank you about it. It's we made the difference.
Thank you for sharing that. Love that.
I grew up, my mother always had my sister, my brother, and myself go entertain at old age homes, and always giving back. And it wasn't until a friend, my mother's best friend's daughter, who was kind of my friend, same age, was affected and became terminally ill. And I remember in college helping to do fundraisers. I didn't know what fundraisers were. I mean, you kind of do when you're in school. And after I graduated, got my MBA, my parents thought, oh great, she's going to go off. And I'm like, do you know what, I'm going into the nonprofit sector. And I'll never forget my mom, she's like, so no profit, you're not getting paid? Like, what is that? And for 25 years, I've been in nonprofits, because I feel that that's where I can help give a voice. I can use my background in marketing. I can, I see the full picture, and it is just like Rick, and we talk. We actually cry a lot too. As soon as we get a story, he's very sensitive, but we do. But we do. I mean, like, it's just that. At the end of the day, I can't tell you how many times he goes, "That's why we're here. That's why we're here." And you know, it is. It's not about that paycheck. It's about really going home, and you know, telling my husband, like, I got a great story for you, because it is. You want the feel good, and helping people makes me feel good.
And I think people that work in nonprofits need to remind themselves of the personal story on a daily basis. It's not just budget.
Absolutely.
And it's not just the operational side.
You both are passionate about connecting with humanity, and that's why your radio show works, because your intention behind it is about that. So that's congratulations. That's
Oh,
wonderful.
thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
It was a delight to have both of you. It's hard to believe it's done, isn't it? I know.
Let's do it
Thank you
again
so
right
much
now.
for yeah, absolutely.
sequel.
We'll just turn around right now. Anyway, don't miss it. Rick, when is the show on?
Sundays at 11.
Sundays at 11,
WSRQ.
streaming.
Yes. Live WSRQ on Sundays at 11, and then streaming the next day.
Okay, I can just go to WSRQ.com.
.com.
That's it for us today. The Philanthropy Show. Tell me something good every day. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday.
Do you have an idea for the Philanthropy Show? Contact us via our website or email us at tps@myvideovoice.com.